Yes, in Acts 2:17, it says, "And it shall come to pass in the last days, says God, that I will pour out of my spirit on all flesh. Your sons and your daughters shall prophesy. Your young men shall see visions, and your old men shall dream dreams." This has happened to me several years ago. I was just in my room. I was making my bed, not doing anything, not praying, nothing. And all of a sudden, God came to me, showed me a vision of me standing in front of women, speaking. And he told me, "Quit your job. You're going into ministry." And as soon as I heard it, it was like a knife to my heart. I was like, this is what I'm doing. But I had no idea why, no reason. No, I wasn't living right. I wasn't doing anything right in my life. So I was like, I think I'm losing my marbles. But I felt so convicted about it that I decided to quit my job. And that's what I was going to do. And I remember this specific vision of seeing the faces of the women. And the way they were looking at me was not, "Oh my God, she's got just these wonderful words." It was, "She's got something that I need to hear." And I was like, "God, I don't know what I could possibly have to say to these women. There's nothing good that's coming out of me right now." And he's like, "You dingbat, it's not about you. I'm going to give you what to say." And I had women come to me after that, random people that I'd never met in my life, that said, "Hey, start a women's group. You're going to be a speaker. You're going to do this." And I'm like, this is wild, but he has made that come to pass.
Mm-hmm.
So I wonder sometimes, again, like I said earlier, with reading the Bible and how do you know it's you versus something else? When you have these things happen, how do you discern whether a dream is spiritual, emotional, or just simply mental processing versus what God's telling you to do?
Yeah, well, don't rush it. In other words, give it time to simmer. It's almost like when you're making a stew or a soup. You put some ingredients together, but you don't serve it 5 minutes later. It needs to simmer and the ingredients unfold. And so there's one thing that comes to mind that, unless it's an immediate, like we've been talking about, Jesus immediately needed to respond to a storm or immediately needed to respond to a demonic man at his feet. But so there are times, but that's usually for highly mature individuals. I don't think the Lord would have tested you back in the day with a need to immediately respond, but he did deposit something in you and into your spirit, and you held on to it. And then later, as you become more mature, more attuned to his way of speaking, you begin to see validation of that. So there are various things that the Lord has spoken to me, and you just wait sometimes and you'll see validation. Then again, he does not contradict his own word. He said, "How do you know?" was your question. And when you can see logos words that are confirmation about a message that you received, that alone can be very helpful. Sometimes you will, as you just said, somebody sends you $90 in a moment when you need it, or resources that you need for your children. So this idea of instantaneous supply at the moment of need is something that I've been watching as well. That's kingdom economics. I remember one time my tax man called me, my CPA, and he called me at the end of December. And he says, "Hey, just wanted to let you know that in early January, you're going to need to remit." What did he say to me? It was a pretty big number. It was like $5,000 or something of that nature. And it was pretty sizable. And I remember putting the phone down and said, "Okay, thank you very much." And in early January rather, I had, I received a contract that was for that amount multiplied. There was, I won't go into details, but it was a multiplied response of income. And I just, again, I wasn't moved by the sudden need for thousands of dollars to go to the tax man. I just trusted the Lord was going to supply all my needs, as you just said. And so you just rest in that kind of faith. So we can operate this way. Some people may be scornful or cynical about this, but it really does call for a good amount of faith. And so that's the thing that we would do. We say, "Lord, strengthen my faith." And so that when we do that, we will be more receptive to the results of these words, these visions, like you just described.